Okay.
Hey, okay.
I still gotta mute all my work-related Slack stuff.
Chris, I love the way that you say the past tense of mute.
Really? Is there a particular way I say it?
He says
Yes,
it
there is.
normally. What are you talking about?
You pronounce the T.
Well, there's a T in it. I mean, there's 4 letters in it. The T is a pretty important one.
The T is one of the most important letters in the word, if not the most.
I could do. Yeah, I guess it doesn't work. Muted, you say.
What do you say?
Muted. It just is the noise. It doesn't say
muted. Yeah, I guess I do sort of
muted.
I would never say that.
I'm not so sure.
I would never think to say that.
Mute.
Yeah.
I in fact, yeah. I don't want to give away too much, regional dialect stuff. But I definitely just find myself, when there's a T at the end of the word, I definitely find myself doing a glottal stop.
You couldn't catch me doing that shit.
No. No, you wouldn't do it.
Glottal stop. More like glottal slop. That's what I'm fucking hearing from you.
Oh, man.
This is an awful bit. Just cut all of this.
I think
no, we're just warming up. We're just getting ready.
Get into it, fellas. It's okay.
We're just getting into it. We haven't seen each other in the daytime in a long time. We're sober. We're looking at... okay.
Yeah. I like your assumption that it's light out. We're sober.
You're seeing the best of us, and I appreciate that.
Presenting lucid. That's at least something. Okay, well, I'm looking at myself, and I'm just seeing like these puffy eyes or bags under the eyes, and it's like, fuck, man. I think about that a lot. Like, I knew that we weren't going to get out of like quarantine and COVID and just like, isolation and depression, all this stuff without some sort of like physical maladies, like weight gain or having trouble sleeping, all that shit. And this is what happens. Like, you look at fucking pictures. I think I've said this before in the program. Like, I've looked at some pictures of my, relatives, older relatives, ancestors, whatever. And it's like, looking at them and they're like, they look 70, and then I'm like looking at the time frame, and I'm like, they're in their 40s,
right?
And maybe that's because they were working outside, working in the sun, just weathered, they're in the elements, or they had weird maladies that have since been vaccinated against from childhood or something. But here we are,
right? Or they got sent to like Vietnam at like 18 years old or some shit like that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like World War II,
and even the older generation. I mean, people that would have been born in the early part of the 20th century or the late 1800s. And it's like, those motherfuckers look old.
Well, they all dressed in like suits and shit. I think that's a big part of it when you look at old pictures, is they just dress like old people dress, right? Like young people don't dress like that.
Yeah. You don't see them in like an Under Armour golf shirt.
Yeah, I think a big part of it is the style of dress.
It's just so fucked up. Like, I was thinking about it this week. Like, life expectancy in like the late 1800s was like 40. Depending on like average life expectancy, depending on who you are, it was like in your 40s. Now, how the fuck do they get away with having the retirement age be like 65? Like, we would have been dead. Like, let us have our fucking years. You know what I'm saying? Like that should, those 25 extra years should be fucking gravy for you. How the hell did all of a sudden it just get normalized that we have to work those years?
It should be normalized that you have to work for about like 6 months in your late 20s. And then outside of that, everything is just free and fine. Talking about the age thing, I remember when I was in college, the first time I really became self-aware of the process of like physical aging. And, I was definitely a little more vain at the time, than I am now. That was when I was like, 19, 20 years old or something. And being in film school too, I was like acting in a lot of stuff. So I was much more active then on like Facebook and those kinds of things, and people would be posting pictures. So you have that sense of like, you're seeing images of yourself constantly, or at least I'm constantly seeing and evaluating images of myself. And there was like one night where I was on like a particular bender, and I was in the bathroom for, you can intuit why.
Powdering your nose.
Yeah. And I caught a look of myself in the mirror, and I realized like I could see wrinkles and my sort of puffiness around the eyes and certain areas of my face that were more filled out. And I was still in better shape. I was never in really good shape, but I was in better shape than I am now. And it was just this like weird kind of, whoa, look, hey, is that me? That kind of recognition of like, it takes a second to realize, oh wait, no, that is who I am. That is what I look like now. And I went into that kind of existential death panic that you do when you're encountered with that kind of thing. And I really I thought about it, and I realized there are all these things that I'm doing in my lifestyle that are causing this process to accelerate. And if I want to remain healthy and young, I should I would have to change that lifestyle. And then the second I had that thought, I then was like, when it comes down to it, I actually have enjoyed the lifestyle quite a bit, and I don't really care. I mean, of course, at that age too, at least for me, I was like, I don't give a shit. I was like, I'm not gonna live till 30. And now that I'm 31, I'm like, oh fuck, I need to
oh yeah, man.
I need to be put into some kind of magic egg.
You see, my thing that I think about is that I have super longevity on both sides of my family, and I look at shit like that, and I'm like, man, I'm gonna live to 100. I don't really think I want to live to 100. I don't know.
Again,
I think that
we wouldn't have.
Yeah, 60. Give me 60, maybe 70. I don't know. I think that's good for me.
I think we've got a lot of good years.
I'm never getting out of this shit alive.
Hey, 100% of people that live healthy lifestyles have died. So
yeah, that's true.
That's just statistics.
I like the last thing you said there, Chris, because now I'm just imagining you playing Civ 6 after work and just being the only way out of this is in a box.
Speaking of Civ 6, as I mentioned before the game, I'm very much looking forward, or before the show, I'm very much looking forward to playing it after, because there's a new civilization, Portugal, which I have not played yet, which their bonuses all look like trade related, so that looks really cool. So,
are you going to do the Treaty of Tordesillas?
I don't know what that is, but sure, yeah. Maybe.
Isn't that the one, Tordesillas? Isn't that the one where they split up Earth?
Yeah, that was the papal designation of which portions of the Earth could Spain and Portugal respectively colonize.
Oh, how do I stop this? I just got a message about this goddamn work computer. Sometimes it wants to restart on me. I just got a message about I don't know when, but it says it's going to restart due to a software update. So I'm hoping.
Oh, stop that shit!
Well, I tried. I clicked the only button on the notification I could click, and then it just vanished.
Oh boy!
So I don't know.
Yeah, they love doing that.
It didn't give me a time frame. No, and I really appreciate when that kind of shit happens during work hours, because they're like, "Oh, it's restarted." I don't know. It just, But
IT inevitabilities are really a gift in the workplace.
I punt all of that down the road. If there's ever an option to snooze, if it was possible that I could just never update another fucking thing, I would. It just, for me, it's like the specter of death coming back in to remind you that there's a passage of time. I just want to keep pushing it away, away. And then the really fucking annoying thing is with the phone and stuff, it'll be do you want to schedule, this will automatically be scheduled at 2 a.m. And it's motherfucker, I'm gonna be up at 2 a.m. and I'm gonna need this phone to look through the Warhammer wiki, okay? At 2 or 3 in the morning, those are prime anxiety hours where I'm gonna need this fucking thing the most, because I can't turn the lights on, I can't wake up my partner, I can't run around the house screaming. I need a little glowing object to just pour my anxiety into.
Dude, there's no way I can say this without sounding like a curmudgeon or a miser. But
I'm gonna love it then. Let's go. Let's hear it.
I can't fucking sometimes during the day, I just can't fucking handle another fucking notification to be bothering me about something. It's so insidious. It's just this cascade, and it just starts to get to you and I just feel this level of stress rising up at the neck. And also remembering, I mean, as millennials, I think we were kind of the last generation that we had an analog childhood and a digital adulthood. And what would have prepared us for this? And it's too fucking much. Remember when Bernie in 2016 in the primary was doing a Rachel Maddow sit down? Both he and Hillary Clinton did one. and he answered something, and maybe you could put it in here, where he was just like, "There's so many beeps and buzzes bothering me. I'm so upset. It's coming at me. I just want some peace and quiet and be able to read a book."
I miss the fact that when I'm in a car or at home, there are not all kinds of buzzes and noises going off, making me a nervous wreck. I miss peace and quiet, which I very much enjoy.
I feel like that sometimes. Because
absolutely.
I'm just like, I just don't want to fucking deal with this. And of course, like, again, tech companies and tech conglomerates hire industrial organizational psychologists to manipulate us, like to like study how that affects us and the kind of responses it creates in our brains, and hopefully pulls us to interact with those tech companies in a way that blah, 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 profit-seeking motive or whatever. But man, sometimes I just want to fucking break. Does that sound curmudgeonly?
No, of course not. I mean,
It's very normal.
To the last point you brought up there, I mean, I mentioned it a while ago when I was talking a lot about gambling. I don't know, like a few months back. But there was this book Natasha Dow Schull wrote called Addiction by Design, which was like this long look into Las Vegas like slot machines in particular, and like how they're designed and how over time, they went from that analog, you literally pull like a crank and an internal mechanism is rotating or whatever. And now that they're all digital, some of them will have like facsimiles of that. Like they might put in some internal mechanization motor stuff to like create a certain kind of sound or whatever, but it's all digital. It's literally just like a touch screen that you're interacting with. And, the part of her study was showing that like they deliberately make, the machines reactive and like take data from the person who's playing it, right? So like if you play it at a very particular speed, the game will adjust to the speed of its animations and its processes to match your speed, right? So if you're going like slow, it'll slow down. If you're going like fast, it'll just like cut all the animations out and just give you the direct numbers. And the idea is to like, hyper personalize the experience and to keep you in this like zone, this sort of like droning addictive zone. And then the obvious jump from that is like thinking about how that applies to like fucking the social media technology and stuff and all the other elements of this wonderful web 2.0 world that we're in, where like it's all hardwired to just keep you engaged with it even when it like sucks. And that's why I think again the gambling one is an interesting bit, because she interviewed a bunch of people who were like long-term gambling addicts, and the whole thing was that like they know that they're not going to win. Like there's zero expectation, even in like a kind of off chance hopeful way, that they're going to win. The whole point is to just go into this like mindless zombie mode that then creates a sense of detachment from the world. It's like, I mean, the addiction is like a dissociation, right? And I think about that all the time when I'm like, similarly like you're saying, Dwight, like I'm just so fucking aggravated by this device, and then there'll be moments where I just find myself like I'm fucking opening up an app that I hate.
Yes.
to look at something that is going to piss me off, and then I'll have that moment of recognition. I'll be like, I have to stop, and I turn it off, and then immediately, just instinctively, open up like the fucking app again or whatever,
Sure. Well, I mean, I've had times in the past where I've like tried to like take a break from Twitter against my own will, and like I would like, part of doing that would be like absolutely needing to like just delete the app off my phone and like kind of make it as like long a process as possible for me to check it, right? In order so that I'd be like maybe less likely to do it. But like still, yeah, the addiction is still so strong that even that only is limitedly effective. Limitedly. Is that a word?
So yeah, I would have said limited.
Of limited effectiveness.
Oh, you're back on your T's.
I like listening to people's dialects and accents, man. I find it really interesting. That's also like what I think is a real bummer is like we lose as like, we all kind of like hear each other's voices more, because of the internet and stuff, that we lose regional accents.
Oh, sure.
And I think that's a real bummer because I'm a huge fan of regional accents.
Well, not Dan Rodimer. Dan Rodimer has a good old Texas boy.
Yo,
with a
what
strong
the fuck
Texas
was that?
accent.
What's up with that guy? I didn't even.
He's great. I'd never heard of him, but apparently he ran last year in the 3rd congressional district in Nevada. He ran there, and like he lost there. But like if you look at his, like it's so funny that he's got campaign ads from Nevada from just less than a year ago, where he has like just a very normal, whatever, like neutral sounding accent, and then to see the ad that he released yesterday for his congressional run in Texas, where he's like, yeah, he's a good old boy. Maybe we'll include a clip here.
2 out of 3 dirty jobs done. I'm Big Dan Rodimer. Texas has big problems. We need a big fighter to solve those problems.
I'm Big Dan Rodimer, and I approve this message because I'm running on my record, while Dan Schwartz runs from his.
The communists in D.C. are ruining America. We have a big problem. Texas.
I had 1 arrest in my life while in college. Those charges were dismissed.
Send Big Dan to Congress. I know how to handle Nancy Pelosi and stop her bull.
I have no convictions and no criminal record. Yet, with the millions of dollars Schwartz makes in China, he's trying to buy our congressional seat.
Men and women's bathrooms, boys and girls sports, higher taxes, higher gas prices.
He's from New Jersey.
Not only is he from New Jersey, what's so funny, because like the first
went to prep school.
Exactly. The first thing I did when I saw this guy was like, Google him and find his Wikipedia, and like obviously to find out that he's from New Jersey. And then so like I posted that screenshot as a reply, and then what's funny was like one of his defenders like replied to me and like, okay, so what? He was born there, and then what? How long did he live there? I was like, yeah, it looks like about 18, 20 years. Like he went to Seton Hall private prep school there.
Yeah.
So I don't know, what now? It's, and what's fucking sucks is that like that shit really is so effective, right? George W. Bush.
Yeah.
George W. Bush did that too.
Of course, yeah.
There's
That's
certainly
a fucking Yale. Come on.
Well, yeah, there's certainly a chance that this could work for him. I don't know. I don't know how badly he lost. Let me check. I don't know how badly he lost last year. He won the Republican primary, I believe. He was endorsed by Trump last year when he ran in Nevada.
Really? God damn, he is a big motherfucker.
He is. He's 6'7". Big
That's
Dan.
not that big.
That's not that big.
No, I've seen. New York City's mayor is at least that.
But no, the other really funny thing that a little detail I noticed about him. Longtime fans of the show remember one of our early episodes where we talked about Tom Monahan, the Domino's Pizza owner, and the insane like fake Catholic law school that he founded that's in Florida, and like the planned community, like the it's just arch reactionary Catholic planned community that he's building around the university. That is where Big Dan went to law school, which is
that's why you were sending that.
yeah.
No,
what a nice
he went
throwback.
to Ave Maria.
yeah.
Fucking law school.
Yeah, Ave Maria.
He's
upstairs,
a psycho.
Upstairs, back room, diploma mill. Yeah,
he's got to be a fucking psych. I love this here. I'm reading his Wikipedia. He has been accused 3 times of assault. In one instance, he completed a 6-week anger management training course. Oh my God. Who are these guys? Like, this,
we're gonna be getting guys like this for many years that are like just carbon copy, like trying to do the Trump thing, right?
Yeah,
this is the same thing, like Don Blankenship when he ran last year under like remember what was his thing that he was like Trumpier than Trump, right? Like that's how like self-described,
right.
And like this Dan Rodimer, his like slogan appears to be "Make America Texas Again," which I don't even.
Yes,
it doesn't make
sense.
No,
Matta.
Bullshit. It doesn't make, it means nothing. What?
That's Matta.
Yeah, I mean it's
bizarre.
It's also obvious too, right? That like that strategy of adopting the phony persona is, not just like deeply cynical, but also just shows like utter contempt for the base.
Right.
Which is the other weird thing about like any of the kind of water carrying you've seen people do for like right-wing populism or whatever, and it's like all of the people who espouse that kind of thing, or like you say, Chris, are trying to do the Trump maneuver, right? I mean, like Trump himself has nothing but like contempt for his, for his base.
It was phony when he did it. Yeah.
Yeah, like they're so removed, and it is such. It's like you have to even be of this like incredible elitist mindset to think that you need to pander. You know what I mean? That doesn't, like, if you were authentically whatever rough and tough or whatever, you would just be that. It wouldn't be a performance. It would just like occur naturally, and it would probably be rather muted, right? Like
muted.
God damn it. But you know what I'm saying? The performative element of it is so like. It's so condescending in such an obvious way, and it's unfortunate. I guess to people who are like constantly looking at it and studying it and thinking about it, and it is weird, like you say, Chris, that it does seem to work often.
It's like Trump kissing the Bible, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right,
you
right.
love it. You love it so much, and they do.
He's right. Love it.
Hugging the flag. Oh man.
But even for those that have, spent any amount of time in Texas, like would also understand that like the other people that think they're in on the joke also do the same performative bullshit. Like, the guys that live in suburban Dallas or suburban Houston that have an F-250 with a dually, like dual cab and shit that drive
and
to
like wear
a parking lot.
That's like business casual in Houston is to wear blue jeans and like a 10-gallon shit kicker hat to your fucking like $250,000 salary job at the oil fucking company or something.
100%. Well, I've been working for Baker Hughes for oil field services now. Well, I've been with the company about 17 years. I started out in accounting, but moved my way up eventually. Now I'm doing account management. So it's been a good bit of coin we've made over through the years. That's the best I could muster for that.
That wasn't bad.
I don't think it's that far off. But yeah, and they drink Jack and Coke. I would say Jack and Diet Coke because I'm trying to wash the waistline. And it's just I'm sure there's a good term for it, but just like faux cowboy aesthetic.
Yeah, Texas is so. Yeah, I guess really now that I think about it, Texas is so full of that anyway that like when a guy like this does it on like a high profile level, it blends right in. Yeah,
blends right in.
But I think it's so funny for a guy like this that like we have like as recently as last year we have footage of him not speaking like that. It is so nakedly
comedian? Larry the Cable Guy.
It's the Larry the Cable Guy.
Yeah. I was thinking like a Toby Keith, like you live in a giant mansion, uber rich, and you sing about like this bar or whatever,
Got to go to the bar.
I want to go to a bar.
Well, Dan Rodimer also like he leans heavy into the professional wrestler thing as well, but like I looked into that too, and he like apparently only had like a developmental contract, like he was only with the WWE, like he was with them for like less than a year, like he wasn't like an actual like he wasn't like a big well-known professional wrestler.
Right. He dipped his toes.
He dipped his toes in it and wasn't good enough. And so they dropped him, I guess.
Not good enough for the WWE or whatever.
I'm just like, I know I fucking nerd out about this, but I'm just like, I'm looking at marinetraffic.com.
I knew that the fucking, that Ever Given or whatever the fuck that ship is called. I knew when I saw that was right up your alley. Because you like have some weird, like you love that shit anyway.
Does a lot for good old Dwight. Yeah. I am buzzing right now.
You love international shipping routes.
I do. It does fascinate me. It's also just, I mean, look, obviously it's like when everybody is talking about the thing that you've been screaming about for years, you feel crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just like, yes! That's right. Everybody needs to pay attention to this. Yeah. Because this is exactly the thing that we should be paying attention to. And like, obviously I've tried to kind of like push, our listeners to the left, like to be interested in issues of global supply chain and stuff, because it shapes our world. And every single thing that you probably have on you or near you, came from somewhere that involves some sort of international shipping, whether it's, the steel components of your chair or the aluminum from your laptop or, plastics. It's just like all of this shit probably came from somewhere else and was transported on a vessel of some sort. And like I think we need to just like remember the history of this shit, that like there are only two major like saltwater shipping canals that like changed Earth. And one of which is the Suez Canal, the other being, the Panama Canal. And like think of the revolution of being able to connect the Mediterranean Sea to the fucking Red Sea. Like Alexander the Great would have like killed for that. You know what I'm saying? Like that, it's so huge to be able to traverse, to go from the Indian Ocean to the Atlantic via the Mediterranean Sea without crossing the Horn of Africa, or going from the Atlantic to the Pacific without going around the Horn of South America, and rather going through the Panama Canal. Again, like I'm not saying this like necessarily celebrating like this has been an unequivocal good. Like it's a very complicated thing. In fact, if I recall correctly, the entire reason that the Nobel Prize came about was because Alfred Nobel, aside from being credited in a very artful thing for him as a rich philanthropist to change his legacy to being like, oh, I like science and peace, but he fucking invented dynamite. And he was so haunted by the idea of his dynamite being used to blast through the Panama Canal and all of the men that died as a result of those blasts. And there were many casualties, not just from the blasts from actually creating the Panama Canal, but also like fucking yellow fever and stuff, that he was so guilty and wrought and haunted by the souls of the people that died because of his invention that he was like, I'm going to change my legacy and do something good for the world.
I would also say, too, just in terms of the history, I mean, both of those things are also the product of colonialism, right? Like,
yes!
Like the whole reason, like when people talk about like globalization, and obviously that was it's been very buzzwordy over the last 30, 40 years. But a lot of those routes and why they exist in the specific places they exist came about as a result of horrible conquest and awful exploitation.
But the United States still had at least partial control of the Panama Canal all the way up through 1999.
Not only that, but like you see now, which was an interesting maneuver, that the U.S. Navy is sending vessels, war vessels there to monitor and patrol the area, and they're using it as an opportunity to try to reassert that global power.
Yeah.
And moreover, the single largest line item on the United States budget is the U.S. Department of Navy. And it is that way because they're there to patrol the global shipping channels and waterways around the world to kind of, grease the wheels of capital.
They're just going to blow up the ship.
That's where it's heading. I think that's where it's heading. And it makes me so upset because, and I mean, Dwight, if you want to give any more of the, the specific, actual information about why this happened and everything. But I'm just going to make it clear from the outset that my position, based on a very tangential understanding of what's going on, is that ship should be left alone there forever.
It's doing its best. Dig another canal. Dig another fucking canal.
Dig a canal around it if you must. But leave that poor ship alone. I swear to God, there should be a movement right now. There should be a public movement. Not stop the count, but stop the stop the dredging, whatever the fuck they're doing to try and move the bow of the ship out of wherever it's caught. Leave it the fuck alone. And I guarantee you, if whatever they do to try to get it out, it's gonna end horribly. And they're going to say, we'll fix it over this weekend. We'll fix it over this. It's going to take years. And because every time they go and they put something there, I hope it just falls in and it just creates this Katamari Damacy of fucking just ships and cranes and
Elon Musk's little fucking submarines that he tried to move it with. Yeah.
What the U.S. should do is they should be we're gonna assemble a crack team of ship movers. They should airlift them onto the deck of the Ever Given and then just fly away. And now they need to be rescued. You know what I mean? Just keep adding more things until it becomes its own little city-state where people can live free and happy on this big, beautiful ship that we don't have to move and we don't have to interfere with, okay? Nature is healing. Let it heal.
Oh, man. It's really bad. No,
it's good.
Well,
I'm saying it's good.
I mean, the sick part about this, look, and just quickly for those that aren't familiar, what happened? Basically, the story is that there was a bad dust storm. There was 40-knot winds. That it had become extremely difficult conditions. This is, of course, what they're saying: extremely difficult conditions to navigate the vessel through the narrow canal. And this thing is big.
It's a quarter mile long.
Yeah, no, it's like the size of the Empire State Building. It's a major container vessel.
Yeah. Which, I mean, maybe maybe they shouldn't have built ships big enough to block
Exactly.
the existing
But it's
infrastructure.
not the ship's fault.
Not the ship's
okay?
fault. No.
Okay,
Leave the ship alone.
Leave the ship alone for fuck's
It's trying
sake.
its best, okay?
I'm so getting wasted tonight and doing the fucking USS Indianapolis speech from Jaws. It happens occasionally. Anyway, but yeah.
Wait, to who?
Oh, myself.
It's the mirror.
Just into the dead of night.
I don't
Dwight
play
has
guitar
Dwight
in
has
front
a
of people.
YouTube channel, like a secret YouTube channel that has no viewers that he just like puts this out to.
That's right.
He wears like a captain's hat.
Never seen a shark's eyes, Chief.
Black eyes like a doll's eyes.
A little bit younger than Mr. Hooper here. For those that don't know, when a vessel comes either through a canal like this or comes into a port, like, the port of Galveston or Newport or something like that, the port has a pilot that comes on. Obviously, there's many of them because there's many ships, but a pilot that takes control of the vessel. So either a small boat will come alongside the vessel and the pilot will jump onto a ladder. Occasionally they're airlifted onto these by a helicopter, but a pilot will take control. So this guy is a guy that lives and works in Suez or in Port Said up in the north on the Mediterranean side, and will get on and pilot the vessel through the canal. There's a lot of liability that comes through all this, which I want to talk about in a second, but like they assume command of the vessel and the captain does no longer has control of the vessel.
Disgusting.
So, something happened.
That sickens me. But
That upsets
continue.
you?
Yeah, how dare he? It's the captain's ship. How dare he impose his will? Maybe that's the fucking problem.
Maybe.
Too many cooks in the canal, you know what I'm saying?
We need these cowboys just going through there. Hey, man, I'll show you how to get through a canal.
Slow down, folks.
So yeah, something went awry, and it looks like its bulbous bow is caught on the east bank of the canal, and it's not moving so far. And I've been looking, and I posted pictures on Twitter. I've been looking at marinetraffic.com and watching the huge, dozens and dozens of vessels accumulating on the north and south side of the Suez.
Good.
Just waiting. And burning oil and consuming food, and who knows where they've been. And, it's just people just sitting there, just arrested, waiting to go. And this is also something that happened with COVID, where, all these vessels were just sitting out there for weeks, not being able to, patriate and go into a country. But anyway, so what's going to happen? Like, what does this mean? Like, what's happening from all this? Well, we know a few things. One is energy prices have increased like a non-insignificant amount. I was looking at Bloomberg Energy the other day, and at least just like in the day after, energy prices had gone up like 3% or something like that. It was like 2.6%. Just today, WTI, West Texas Intermediate crude, has gone up 4%. Brent crude is up an additional 4%. So what does this mean? This means that because of this, and this trade route is an enormous waterway for petroleum coming from the Gulf states and going to Europe or going to the Americas, the energy prices are going to increase. So your cost at the gas pump, or your fuel oil consumption in your house, or natural gas, all of those prices are going to increase. I say this to say that this affects the working class across the globe before it impacts anybody. If anything, it makes Saudi oil, for instance, they can sell it for higher prices because the demand is increasing. And that'll affect the futures contracts. And that's what it is, really, when we're looking at the futures contracts of West Texas crude and the Brent crude. And not only that, and this is the sick part, is that a few weeks ago, because of COVID, studies were showing that food prices across the world were increasing. And that's when shit starts to get really fucking scary. Because people across the globe, as a result of global capitalism, are hurting because of food prices increasing. And now this is poised to have it increase even further, because this could be a throughput for grain ships, or any amount of foodstuffs that would go through this canal are now sitting there moored, waiting to go through. And those things could go bad, or there's a huge array of implications. And ultimately, this is going to hurt working people before it hurts the people that can afford to pay the highest price for something in the open market, which is how markets work. The person that can pay the highest gets the good. This is fucking crazy. Like, this
I
is
still say don't move it. Sorry. I still say leave it alone. In fact, all those other ships that are waiting on either side of the canal, send them in. Whoever can get to the other side gets a bonus.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, logically, you should be able to push that ship with another ship that size, right?
Right, exactly.
Just at speed,
if that doesn't work, you send a third ship and then a fourth. Yeah.
I don't know. It might be a little dicey. If
I do have a better solution. I hear a lot of criticism. I don't hear any of your solutions, so
that's it, which is exactly why I should not be weighing in on this.
they're gonna just blow it up, or they're gonna just rip it to
they're
pieces.
Gonna try to.
Yeah, they're gonna try
to. But
somebody's gonna go up along the side with a stencil and write USS Cole on the side, and then we're gonna let nature take its course.
I mean, again, that's what, when just sort of casually chatting about this, I saw a bunch of people, with a lot of surety that they'll find a way to get it out one way or another, like pretty quickly. And I wouldn't be so sure. I mean, when was the last time even the insanely powerful governments of the world and or like corporate authorities of the world did anything effectively on this scale? Gestures all around to the pandemic, right? I mean, what's most likely going to happen is if they try to like break it up into pieces, they're going to fuck that up, and then the pieces will like sink and continue to be blocking it, right? Or if they blow it up, which will probably be eventually, at least certainly on the table. I'm not saying it for sure, but they probably will at one point consider doing that. Then when they do that, what are they going to do with all the wreckage? How are they going to get that out of there?
Exactly.
They're probably going to fuck it up even more. So I say, we haven't tried not doing anything yet.
That is true.
Let's see what happens.
I like your point, Shane, about how what have we done at all that has been of any, international coordination that has been successful? Like, what people need to understand about this is that shipping and maritime law is extremely stochastic. And even just with this one vessel, every vessel is, lawyers, corporate lawyers get together to make sure that if, so to speak, a vessel were to sink or something were to happen with it, that it wouldn't sink the ship of the company that owns it. And so each vessel is set up as its own kind of standalone company with a larger umbrella of a holdings company around it that's, there to reap the profits from, the freight that it's forwarding and stuff. So like, even in the case of this, how complicated this gets. This is a Panamanian flagged vessel with, that was shipbuilders from Japan, a Taiwanese, Evergreen is a Taiwanese freight company with OOCL, which I don't know if they're Chinese or Taiwanese, or they're from Hong Kong or something. They're from Hong Kong. OOCL, Orient Overseas Limited, is a the company that owns all of the containers on board. And so, like, they're already, and not to mention whatever insanely complicated array of financiers that own this vessel. So, let alone the cargo owners that own all the cargo inside of those OOCL containers. So, like, all of those parties, it dilutes whose fault it is.
Right,
so
of course.
Nobody takes responsibility, and it just becomes...
Well, nobody wants to pay for moving the fucking thing, too, right? Here's a question. Are any of these, like, companies involved in the ship, like, publicly traded?
Yeah, good question. I mean...
Because I would love to get a piece. I think this is going to be the next. This is going to be the next GameStop. I don't know why, but I'm convinced I'm going to dump my entire life savings into this ship. Is there a button I can press to do it instantly? Help me out.
I would. You could. You could short the insurers, the underwriters of all this shit, because they're going to be hurting. You're looking at.
Hey, all right, hold on. No, I'm going to one of the. Hold on. Let me see something really quick. I was gonna check on the online betting networks, like Predict It or whatever.
Oh yeah.
If you could take bets on the ship, because I'm putting all of my money on not moving.
Not moving.
not moving ever. It's ever given. It is ever given that it will be there. It's in the name.
Shane, I wonder if they put the fucking naval ship in there to be like, hey, we're ready to blow it up. Just FYI, we're ready to go. We can make this happen. We've got some
Yeah,
real
that's
nice.
I mean, that's what I
torpedoes on there.
Unironically, is probably at least certainly on the table.
It's definitely on the table.
And as the other things take a while, I mean, because again, even think of like logistically, if you were going to dismantle the ship, right? You would have to, first of all, you'd have to remove all of the cargo, and you'd have to truck that away.
I've seen a video of like another kind of situation. This is a while ago where some ship was stuck, and they like sawed it into pieces using like a giant chain to like grind it down and like cut it into pieces that way.
Yeah.
But even again, but with the size of this
right.
and where it is,
and just no infrastructure of any kind around it. Yeah.
If assuming, and that's assuming that it all goes well, assuming that every step of that doesn't create new complications, that could take months just to put into those pieces and to move it away in some meaningful way, unless you're just throwing the parts of the ship directly on the other sides of the canal, which again then would probably collapse the fucking canal walls or whatever.
Yes.
So again, I think there's, look, I hear what you're saying, Dwight, in terms of like the actual economic ramifications that this can have, but there's so much narrative potential in this ship. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like this ship, if fucking Netflix and Warner Brothers and Disney are not already like optioning fucking reality shows, a spin-off movie, incorporating it somehow into Marvel, like this is like, we need to be on top of this. I will pitch it right now. Put me on the ship. Do the Naked and Afraid show, but just me living on the container ship. And whatever money you make off of the advertising and the merchandising you do for the show, you use that to offset the costs. Boom.
We need to do Event Horizon Ever Given.
The next Transformers movie just starts with the ship just like turning into Optimus Prime and just going and nuking Iran or some shit. I don't know.
Like that's what really sucks about this. I've given this a lot of thought about, like, to your point, Shane, like what could be the narrative that's crafted around this? Because like for the left, like shutting down ports, you know, if that's just like putting your bodies on the highway, you know, going in and out of the port or something like that, or like, you know, creating work stoppages, or even just like stevedores unions that, like, you know, do strikes to say, hey, we're not going to take the containers and load them onto the trucks and all that stuff. Like those are extremely powerful tools that change the economy. You know what I'm saying? That create choke points. But this is just like an accident. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's not like a narrative that we could be like immediately like, this is what happened, and this is why it's impactful. Like, this is just like stupid. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean, we could just manufacture a narrative around it. I have no problem doing that.
Let's hear
I'm
it.
ready to do that right now. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. When they go on the deck of the ship, right? They're going when they start surveying it to dismantle it, they're going to open the shipping containers. And in each one, they're going to find it's just filled with shrimp tails. And it goes all the way to the top.
No. we were trying out a new Cinnamon Toast Crunch flavor, and they found us out. Can you put in like a cartoon noise, like, you know, like the fucking little bongos or something?
Like I'm imagining the noise when Scooby Doo and Shaggy run and they're like in place. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's what I was.
I like it. I dig it.
Yeah, man. I don't know. It's oh god.
Has Elon Musk offered a solution to this yet? Because I feel like
he will. That's the next step. That's the next step. Yeah. Underground canals.
Yeah.
I wonder if he's not, because he's like, man, I would fuck this up.
Or all the
he doesn't
shipping
have that
containers are filled with
instinct. He doesn't have
Teslas.
that instinct that says, "Wait, I could fuck this up. I shouldn't do this." He doesn't have that.
You might be right. Yeah. Or he's going to be like, "This is we're unveiling a new electric boat. Will eliminate the need to go overseas like this." This is, I don't know, man. I think, Shane, the more I'm listening to your words, the more and more I'm worried about this, because, like, you know, this is also just like we were talking about with the different ownerships and the different parties that are involved in this one vessel. There's no coordination. Like, under capitalism, we tend not to be good at coordinating things that, you know, that need to get done for societal benefit. Like, how are COVID vaccines. Like these could be fucking latex gloves and vaccines.
That was my first thought. I wonder if it's vaccines. All the world's remaining vaccines are on the Ever Given.
But like, yeah, getting Sanny wipes and nitrile gloves around, it's like,
or Funko Pops. It could just be Funko Pops. Let's not.
I'm going to predict it right now. Funko Pops are going through the roof.
I mean, the reality is, of course, I am being playful. They probably will start doing some insane things to it, because the reason why this is going to be seen as a problem that needs to be dealt with immediately is because it less so of having like a massive social significance. It's costing a bunch of rich people money. Every second that it's not fucking moving, it's costing all of those companies tons of money. And so that's why, again, I do think, like blowing it up or whatever will sound like a reasonable solution, because the goal here will be like, we just have the fastest thing. Like every second you're talking to me, I'm losing fucking $10,000. You know?
Yeah. The world economy, I guarantee, like more than that. Like there's huge implications. And now that I've ever given it a little thought. Yeah. And I think here's also a narrative that I think we can extract from this, or like a lesson that we can learn, is that international shipping in as kind of sophisticated and elaborate a web it is, exists not just to, get things from one area of the world that you can't get to another area of the world. You know what I'm saying? But rather, international shipping is so sophisticated because one of the biggest reasons that we do things in other places versus doing them domestically is lower labor costs. And we do so or because of the comparative advantage of a country, or we're just moving things around because it's cheaper to do it here, cheaper to do it versus cheaper to do it there. And it would be nice to not have an environmentally impactful good that we need here, right? Like, another thing I think of with this is like planned obsolescence. Like if I buy a microwave today and it lasts me 25 years because it's a quality good, that doesn't do GE any good.
Right, of course, yeah.
They need that soon. They need to sell another microwave to satisfy their quarterly shareholder, meetings and shit. So like we have these ships going internationally to move goods for this reason. And so that's like my criticism when it comes to like international shipping is, what are the reasons that we have all these vessels going across the world? Is it because we need to get things from point A to point B? We know no. The answer is primarily it's the profit-seeking motive, is to be able to take raw materials, transform them into a semi-finished or a finished good, and sell them to you at the cheapest possible price in a way that will get you to order another one shortly.
Another piece of this too that I realized way back when me and Adam did the Reading the Future episode on talking about like peak oil and stuff, is one of the arguments that was made in that particular book that we had read and we were discussing more generally is like globalized like agriculture, which sort of ties into the food prices thing you're talking about. And, to a certain extent, some of it is just like grain. It's like sheer volume. And when I say some of it, probably most of it, I don't have the exact numbers, but that's like the majority of the food produced in the world, right? It's like a few staple grains, but then there's a whole host of other items that are, it's not even necessarily just about, them being cheaper, on a very slight margin individually, but then, in wholesale, it's a lot. But, that is a part of it. If you're buying like 1 million of something, if you can get it for 10 cents cheaper or whatever somewhere else, and then you calculate how much it costs to ship, if it ends up being cheaper, you do that, even though then there's like an environmental consequence to that vis-a-vis, the fuel cost of the shipping, right? But there are also other items that are just like, seasonally grown in certain areas and not grown in others. But in, the United States and in the sort of global north, generally, right, there's such a consumer culture of like, I should be able to have whatever I want at any point, and so I should be able to go to the grocery store and buy strawberries no matter what time of the year it is. And so then as a consequence of that, you have like, strawberries being grown all over the world and then shipped to the United States at this like huge environmental cost.
Yes.
And it's just like, why can't you just wait? Why can't it just be, no, you you can't have strawberries right now. They're not in season. Wait till next year.
And they suck when you eat them too. They're tasteless.
Right. It is a weird, and that is, that's like a huge part of again, sort of environmental impact, and it is it's a material and a cultural thing, particularly someplace in the United States, which with such an extreme consumer culture where it's like I must be able to have whatever I want, and not even like have it because it's all money. It's like I must have access to every potential available choice. And I'm this is probably an unpopular opinion to a certain degree, but I think like a real like just world, you just wouldn't have those as options all the time because you just don't need them. It's not like your life is demonstrably worse if you can't eat again like a cherry half of the year. Like there are so many other things and also like habits of and sort of cultural attitudes towards cuisine and food have been based on seasonal things throughout like all of human history, and it's only really like the last 50, 60, 70 years that was even like an option. It's not like the world has always been like this where you could get all that stuff, right? So I don't know exactly where I was going with that, but
no,
it's again, it's just the cost of the point that you're making is like what value, why do we have this huge international shipping network? How much of it is really necessary? Obviously, there's always some argument for like trade between nations and whatever, sharing items that you can't have or you don't produce or one country specializes in and another doesn't have or whatever, but like is all of it really necessary? Is a lot of it just waste that is like literally like cooking the planet alive?
Yes.
I don't know.
I go back and I'm thinking about the two things. One is, I think an important point that you and Adam talked about on that episode is like there does need to be an element of degrowth involved in all this because like what is this for? The entire apparatus that facilitates those unneeded goods. What's it for? It's for primarily shareholder profit or the profits of the people that have a stake in the apparatus that facilitates it. But also I'm thinking about the picture of my kind of family members that were born in the late 1800s, early 1900s. And I think about my great grandmother who had a garden, and to eat vegetables in the wintertime, like she would pickle them. She would pickle all summer,
yes.
Cucumbers and carrots and kohlrabi and those sorts of things, and be able to have them in the wintertime. And that's how it was done. And they would pluck chickens themselves. I'm not saying that we all need to be fucking, homesteaders, but like we should be able to localize the things that we need, which creates a ecosystem and a local economy to allow us to be sustainable.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Because clearly what we got right, I'm sitting in New York City on March 26th, and it was 80 degrees outside here. Like, what the fuck?
I'm cooking right now. I'm counting down the minutes till we're done recording so I can turn the AC back on.
I am baking. It is.
Yeah, it's pretty hot here, man.
Warm. So, this shit is just, it cannot continue like this. It just straight up cannot continue like this.
Okay, here's the pitch. Here's the pitch.
Hit us with it.
We get like a long range dinghy, okay?
Okay.
And we ship out from Strong Island, and we go to the Suez. We take over the Ever Given, and we rearrange the shipping containers to create like a wall around the deck. And so we can prevent any sort of nautical sieges from occurring, and we cover the deck in soil, and we create our own little sustainable farm there. And then after it does well, after a couple of seasons, probably some of us will die. I'm assuming that'll be you guys.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
After some rough winters, but eventually once it takes off, then I will be able to market and ship the homegrown food items on the Ever Given all across the world, baby, via drone.
That's I'm hearing a business model here. That's a business model. What a fucking big week. What a big week, man. You haven't even talked about fucking Amazon, dude.
I know, I literally was just thinking that.
We didn't even talk about
the piss bottles.
The Biden's press conference.
Oh,
or Afghanistan.
Can we please just take a moment and just talk about his press conference?
I was trying to like get all the timestamps earlier because I wanted to like maybe see about making a compilation of all the times he like was in the middle of answering a question and then just was like, anyway. And then just went on to something different. He's got a really funny thing that he does when he just completely loses his train of thought.
He's a bewildered elderly man, dude.
There's one part that particularly struck me because I was just watching it today, and he was talking about the voting thing that Brian Kemp signed in Georgia the other day, and he was like said that what Biden said was, "This makes Jim Crow look like Jim Eagle."
This makes Jim Crow look like Jim Eagle.
Did you hear that?
Yes, I did
immediately
hear that.
had me running to Google to look up Jim Eagle. It's not a thing. I guess it's just they're just two different types of birds. So
it's
that's
just his. I think what he's trying to say. Well, no. Let's think what he did say was that the voting rights.
Well, first of all, it's not good, but it's not Jim Crow. It's not worse than Jim Crow. I mean,
it's not the same thing as like
same thing.
Sundown towns and like lynchings and segregation, which he's also a proponent.
Right? Yeah.
Proponent of.
Let's not forget his history.
Exactly. Like it's hideous.
Right.
But I don't know what the to put it bluntly, like it was an inelegant way to try to convey what he was trying to say.
An eagle is more dangerous than a crow. Was that?
I think he was just saying,
That's what
man,
he's going for,
you haven't seen it like this before. This one's gonna be rough.
I think it would depend on the relative abilities of the crow and the eagle in question. I don't know if I could make a blanket statement that any eagle could beat any crow.
The fuck was that?
I thought it was an amusing bit. I apologize.
No, that sound.
We could cut it.
That
Fuck
sound.
me.
No, it sounded like an industrial disaster just happened in one of your bedrooms.
We're recreating the Suez Canal in the other room.
No. You gotta enjoy your industrial disasters. Anyway, Biden is just fucking a bewildered elderly man. Like I've never felt so like it's just so bleak. Because the takeaway that I got from his press conference was like, fuck you if you think anything's gonna change. Even with Afghanistan, he was just like, yeah, a completely meaningless sentence. That
he said, well, what did he say?
Together.
Well, he said, first of all, we're not, May 1st isn't going to happen. But I think that maybe, I can't imagine there'd be troops there next year, was basically where he left it.
Unreal.
I can't imagine.
I can't imagine there'd still be troops there next year.
The president. Who knows? Who knows? It's out of my control. It's out of my hands. That's for sure.
I mean, ultimately, it is though. He's not wrong.
Right, of course. Yeah.
The military industrial complex will move on and do its thing no matter who the president is. So
it's just such a naked admission.
It's sort of
you know what I mean?
A shocking amount of clarity from him in that moment. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, I think you're right. Actually, that actually is interesting. It was just like an admission from him to be like, listen, man, this isn't my gig. I'm just paid to be here, man. I don't know what you want from me.
What do you expect?
It's $400,000 a year. That's what they pay me. That's my salary. You think that gets me out of bed in the morning? You know what gets me out of bed in the morning? A light stimulant administered by intravenous.
Nothing wrong with that.
Maybe they just as a ceremonial position they gave him the ability to be the Suez Canal pilot for a day last week.
I would love for that.
And he whoopsie.
They think they're gonna take away my license. You get to a certain age and nobody wants you to drive. I can see fine.
Oh,
yeah.
Man.
Trump would have like proposed nuking the boat by now if he was president. I mean, he always he would have absolutely would have presented a solution by now that would have involved like nuking it or something.
And then there would be a coin. There'd be a coin of the ship exploding and him giving a thumbs up. Trump beats the Ever Given. You know what keeps happening in my mind? This is going to mean nothing to you guys, but maybe like 4 of our listeners are going to pick up on this. There's a character in the Warhammer universe who's like sort of like the Antichrist kind of figure, like the bringer of the end times. And his name's Archeon, the Ever-Chosen. And so every time I see the ship name, that I keep thinking it's the Ever-Chosen, and it's just this like demonic figure from hell that signals the end of all things.
Oh wow!
So that's I hope Trump comments on it at least. I hope we get a 140 character little press release from him with his seal on it and everything.
Dude, I was thinking about that the other day. How just like weird it is to not hear his voice. Like we were talking about it in the last Patreon episode, or yeah, maybe it was. I don't recall. Maybe it was just us chumming it up. But it seemed so weird to just like not have to not have him around. Man, I'm doing something here. There we go. How's that?
There, yeah. Oh, nice. Yeah, he's on the 3-headed dragon mount.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. It's
I'm not
some kind of demon or something.
Not entirely sure what Warhammer is. It's like little pewter figures or something.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
And there's stories with it.
Yeah, there's like a whole lore. I don't do the hobby, but I have obsessively learned about the story around it. Because again, like going back to the beginning of the episode, there's a lot of nights where I just don't sleep at all, and so it's either I think about impending nuclear doom, or I read about some canon obsessively. So yeah, that's my entry point into it.
There you go. I really found my little kind of like sleep aid, and I've talked about it before. I know it's fucking weird, but there's like a YouTube channel that's just like a live feed from Times Square, and it's just like the sound of wind going through the buildings, or like somebody honking a horn or a jackhammer. For whatever reason, it puts me just right out.
Wow.
How's that?
It's the worst place on earth.
It really is, though.
It really is so much concentrated evil right in that spot. But yeah, I could see how that's comforting in a certain way.
It's a little Civilization ASMR. Not the game, but just T-Mobile ads. All right, folks. What do you think?
All right.
Yeah.
Leave the boat alone.
Leave
the goddamn boat alone.
No. No. And the boat's got to go, man.
No, fuck you. Who are you? Who are you?
The boat's
got to
go.
No, absolutely not.
I'm going out there. I've got the next flight. I'm going to Sharm el Sheikh, and I'm taking a boat around the bottom of the Sinai Peninsula. We're doing it, man. Dwight has got this.
I will sabotage.
We're gonna see photographs of like Dwight like walking around holding hands with like the Saudi royals and stuff on his mission to destroy the boat.
That's right.
Yeah.
The orb. You have to consult the globalist orb.
I'm ready. I'm not gonna say it.
I want protests on the street against moving the boat. I want candidates to come out. Honestly, if Bernie doesn't come out today and say, like, leave the boat alone, I'm done with him. I'm absolutely done. Whoever comes out and says, leave the boat alone, as my vote forever. I'm a single issue voter. I got so emphatic. I knocked my microphone down.
You punched your microphone.
I was like fucking Khrushchev banging the table.
Yes.
That's how strongly I feel. Leave this fucking poor boat alone.
All right, folks. Till we meet again in the Red Sea.
Good night, everybody.
Stay cool.